like to call this budget public hearing to order for today, April 1st, 2026. My name is Councilman T.J. Clark. I am the council president. We are joined by our mayor, Mayor Arun Awolampalam. We have our majority leader, Kelly Bilodeau, Marilyn Rossetti, Councilman John Gale, Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti, Councilman John Gale, Councilman Josh Mitchum, and Councilman Alex Thomas. The mayor has submitted his recommended budget to the city council, marking the beginning of the city of Hartford's budget process. This hearing provides an opportunity for us elected officials to listen and engage with the public. An additional hearing will be held on April 28th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at Weaver High School. Tonight's hearing is broadcast by Hartford Public Access TV at HPA-TV.org, channel 96, and Comcast, on Comcast and channel 6032 on Frontier Communications. At this time, again, thank you very much for being here. Now, I will turn it over to Mayor Awolampalam for his budget presentation at this time.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you guys for being here. It is a great honor to get to serve the city each and every day. And I've been in this role now for just over 2 years. I'm starting my third year and doing my third budget. And one of the things that I've learned that I never forget day in and day out is the incredible public servants that I get to work alongside. There are a lot of folks that you may see me on the news, but there are a lot of folks doing a lot of work throughout the city to serve the residents of the city. And that includes the council members who you see up here, and also a number of folks throughout our schools, our public safety units, and all across City Hall. And so before I start, I just wanted to take a moment to, if you work for the city of Hartford, would you just stand for a moment and just be recognized? Thank you for all that you do. I'm going to go through the top lines of our budget. You doing the slides for me? Thank you, Councilman Thomas. Well, I'm going to go through the top lines of our budget, talk about the submitted fiscal year budget. This obviously begins our process. There will be a number of budget hearings in the coming weeks before council, and then we'll talk about the final budget that's adopted in May coming down the road, and there will be one more public hearing before that. But at top line, this has been a really difficult budget year, I think, for many municipalities. A number of large municipalities have raised taxes around the state, and we felt like it was really important, given the struggle that so many of our residents have with affordability, to ensure that we are doing our best to maintain our line on taxes. And we'll talk about some of those inflationary pressures, some of those cost increases that we are sustaining, but through a number of cuts within our budget and by freezing about half of the open positions at City Hall, we've been able to maintain our property tax rate at 68.9 mils and hold spending to just a 1% increase, which, given increases in salaries all across City Hall, increases in costs that we are all seeing in our homes, and that translate into things like buildings and lights and utilities. It took a lot of work to ensure that we could maintain our property tax rate, but for all of our residents, that was really important to us. Again, this is a submitted budget, and so as we contemplate potential additional costs in this budget, and we'll get to that towards the end of this, any of those would come with additional tax increases. But this is a vision of what a budget could look like with zero tax increases. We're continuing to fund negotiated wage increases, probably most notably this past year for employees in 1716. That's many of our DPW employees, sanitation workers, folks in our parks, a lot of those individuals, and then firefighters, which received after 10 years almost of zero wage increases, a historic increase in their taxes that were, historic increase in their wages that were well-deserved, and continues to invest in our capital assets out of our general fund. It also contemplates a few investments that are based on prior obligations. We're reopening the Blue Hills Recreation Center that'll come with additional staff, and we're hoping to get that opened in the coming months. We've expanded programming, especially for parents in those periods when your kids are out of school in April break and over winter break, and that additional sports and rec program is contemplated in this. Significant additional funding within our fire department for contract increases and overtime, and then within public works to support overtime and additional funding to address the impact of inflation. To give you an overview of this budget, and this is the financial pressures that we've discussed. Our grand list, which is the taxable properties within the city, remains flat and has for the last close to 5 years. It's been relatively flat as costs have increased, as inflation has increased pretty substantially across the country. Interest income is lower, and that's caused declining revenues. That's been offset by some additional state funding that we've gotten in the form of town aid roads grants and pilot funding in this year. And then the parking authority is seeing a reduction in net income into the general fund. That's to account for some ongoing maintenance, deferred maintenance that's required by the parking authority in addition to certain other investments. And then finally, a new revenue source from medical service billing, Medicaid billing, that we hadn't been capturing before, that allows us to adjust for some of those budget holes. There's an increase in payroll, as you'll see, that's just generated by the negotiated wage increases. All families across the city and across this country have been feeling the weight of of inflation, rising costs all around them, and city employees have negotiated pay increases that are needed and well-earned. And in many cases, since the time that we neared bankruptcy, there are a number of our bargaining units that have seen zero wage increase in close to a decade. And I mentioned 1716, which are many of our most lowly paid employees, some of whom were, at the end of the day, making minimum wage, and in some cases even slightly less, and our firefighters who've seen about a decade without significant general wage increases. And so those costs add up, but they're necessary investments to make in the workers in the city. It's a statement of our values and a statement of the value of our employees. There's been a reduction in benefits that's partially attributed to the freezes that we have in new hires coming up in this upcoming budget to allow these numbers to work. There's an anticipated debt service payment of $2.5 million. This is probably a good point to speak about it, but for the last roughly decade, again, since we nearly entered bankruptcy, we haven't been able to borrow as a city. We haven't been able to put bonds out, and you've seen it in the form of the roads and sidewalks and rusted street lamps. You've seen it, as you drive down city streets that are not maintained to the same quality as city streets in many other towns and neighborhoods. And because of the fiscal position we are in, and I'll speak to this in a moment, because we've been able to slowly save over the last 10 years, because we're in a much stronger fiscal position than we've been in over a decade, the state has given us provisional authority to go back out to bond for the first time. And so we anticipate to have a real investment over this next 3 years in our roads and our sidewalks, in that critical core infrastructure that has been lacking at the city. And so we're anticipating the debt service payments that will come with that in this upcoming budget. And then utility increases driven by lower MDC sewer assessments. This is a snapshot of our general fund balance, which, as you've seen, has grown our rainy day fund and our assigned fund balances. If you want to hit the next slide. And the result of that has been consistent upgrades in our bond rating. And most recently, Standard & Poor's upgraded the city's credit rating to an A-, which may seem kind of, wonky thing to cover in a budget presentation, but what that means for residents is that we can finally go out and fix our roads. We can finally go out and fix our sidewalks. We can finally, we've got all these rusted street lamps that we're worried will be a liability because they might fall over. We can finally make those investments. Within DPW, we've got 391 pieces of equipment, and 351 of them are past their useful life. And so, think about all of those DPW drivers who are trying to plow you out in the middle of that last snowstorm. They're working with equipment that is a lot older than the equipment that West Hartford and Glastonbury and other surrounding towns are working with, and I think did a hell of a job. But we need to make those investments in fire apparatus and DPW apparatus, in roads and sidewalks, in the core infrastructure that residents notice and impacts significantly your quality of life. And this financial progress we made allows us to do it. And at the same time, we haven't increased the mill rate. And over the last 5 years, while our taxes have been flat, while our revenue has been flat as a city, the cumulative inflation has increased 9.78%, so about 10%. And so that 10% of our budget is budget that we have made work just purely by making cuts within City Hall. And those have been difficult and they've been hard, but it's also really important that our residents are able to afford their way of life and afford to live in this city. And maintaining the mill rate is really important to that. This is a snapshot of our overall expenditures, and for those of you who are taxpayers in the city, you'll remember that when your taxes went out this past year, we gave each of you a pie graph sort of just like this, but with your individual contribution to each of these items. So it's a kind of dorky way to try to get residents to engage in what their taxes do, what your taxes fund, and to be engaged in the process of government. But you'll get that again in your tax bill. It'll break down your tax bill into exactly how much you are spending on education, on payroll, on benefits, on each of these categories when that comes out this year. And then this is the components of the expenditure base. This is essentially that same pie chart with education, I think, pulled out of it. This is the benefits and insurance item. And this is all available in our budget document, which can be found online. This a 5-year plan of sustainability. As you all know, we continue to monitor closely our taxes. We continue to monitor closely our revenue growth and our fiscal stability as a city. And there's no way in which we can continue to go down this road without growing our grand list. And we hope to grow that primarily through more investment in housing, investment in growth and development, and investment in our commercial tax base. And one of the biggest threats we have to that commercial tax base right now is the number of vacant commercial buildings we have in our downtown. Each one of those buildings is a really substantial amount of our taxes. They fund the social services and education and public services that you all need in this city. And addressing the sustainability of those downtown buildings is vital and essential to our ability to continue to provide services as a city. And so we are working with the state right now on a study that we hope is just weeks away from coming out on figuring out a way to convert a substantial amount of those vacant downtown office buildings into housing and to create real opportunities for affordable housing, for low-income housing, for market rate housing, a mix of housing that will allow for the cost of housing to go down in the city, that will create thousands of units of new housing for our residents, and at the same time address our biggest fiscal challenge, which is stabilizing our grand list, stabilizing our property tax base, and being able to fund city services into the future. At the same time, we're going to stay disciplined in our spending, work to improve quality of life, and continue investing in critical infrastructure. There's a capital budget here, and a breakdown of what that capital budget looks like. But I want to go to the last slide, which is around education, and that's probably the greatest challenge we face in this budget cycle. And let me start by saying this. I'm sure some of you have seen on the news, the superintendent and I go back and forth with our strong ideas about what should happen within our schools. I will say this, we have been working collaboratively. We've made a commitment to each other to work together to try to figure out a way to fix the $75 million budget deficit that we face in our schools. $22 million in this fiscal year, $52.5 million in the upcoming fiscal year. It is in many ways appears like an existential crisis, and yet I will tell you, given conversations that we have had with the governor, with legislative leaders, it's one that I think we are on a good pathway, a good road to solving, and it's going to require some level of shared sacrifice all the way around. But frankly, it can't happen without the state taking a major role, making a major investment in our schools in this year, and it'll be in a way that invests in Hartford schools and maybe Bridgeport in a way that doesn't invest in other school districts. And just to give you some snapshot of where we've come, and this graph kind of shows it, between city and state funding, we've increased spending in our schools about $34 million a year. And in addition to that $34 million, we've got a $74.5 million deficit. So we're talking about over $100 million in growth in new spending over just the time that I've been mayor, over just 3 years. And it's really necessary that the state gets involved, that the state gets all the way involved. And I'm really happy to see State Representative Jim Sanchez is here. I saw him around here. I don't know where he is in the room right now. But somebody who is a champion for Hartford schools, somebody who I think really understands this and is working with us on this. The speaker, who is a Hartford resident, and we really appreciate all the speaker's leadership on this. But legislative leaders, the governor's office, understand that we can't get to a point where we are not able to pay the bills after the summer. And they also understand a message that I've sent loud and clear that I think is shared across the board, that we can't afford to cut any more teachers or paraeducators. We can't afford to make any more cuts within our schools. You can applaud that if you want. Because I think all of us in this room know that to be true. We are committed to that as a city. I know the Board of Ed is committed to that. And I am really hopeful that this will be the first year since I've been mayor, and the first year in many years, that we don't see those cuts. I think that the state recognizes that within our schools we've cut to bone. And I think that there is an opportunity to both address the long-term structural funding issues in the state. And I've been outspoken in my time as mayor that we have made a choice as a state to fund education in a way that is among the most expensive and the least equitable, least fair ways of funding education in the nation. And that is a choice we make year after year as a state. And I think that there is an opportunity for real change, an opportunity to make a different choice this year in this legislative session. And we've gathered together mayors and education leaders and stakeholders from across the state with a simple message that this is the year to make that change, to make that different choice. But it's not going to happen overnight. And I think we can get to a point, I'm very hopeful that we can get to a point where over the course of 4 or 5 years, the state increases incrementally, changes the allocations for the ECS formula that ties the foundation to inflation, and that increases funding for special ed, English language learners in high poverty districts in a way that allows us to build a school system sustainably in the long run that creates the opportunities and the resources for every single school to be a center of excellence. And I think that this governor and this legislature are committed to that. And I think we'll see a real step in the right direction in this session. But that step in the right direction will not be enough to address the $74.5 million deficit. And so we need funds specifically for Hartford, and Bridgeport is out there asking for funds similarly, to address those deficits specifically. An investment in getting Hartford through these difficult times, and then allowing for us to build into a future in which state funding is more sustainable. That's something that the superintendent and I are working collaboratively hand in hand on. That's something I'm really hopeful that we will find. I think it will come with potentially an ask for the city to raise taxes to some extent, maybe not the 26% that would be required to cover this, in order to do that. And as a community, if the state makes a significant investment, I think we should be ready to take some pain as a city and to have some skin in the game in that. I think that it will come with a potential call for greater transparency and some form of accountability of the Board of Ed. And I think that this superintendent who's been showing up to MARB meetings, who has been presenting on his budget publicly at the Board of Ed, is one who desires transparency, is really open to conversations. And I think that there's a way in which we can have that conversation so that it doesn't involve, it doesn't impact our teachers, doesn't impact our paraeducators, doesn't impact our administrators. But I think we all have to be ready to make certain concessions, to work with the state to try to get us through this hump. And that's something that I'm committed to. It's something that I believe the superintendent is committed to, and we're going to stand together on as a city. And we would love to have your support, your unity, your voice to stand together on that. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to hearing your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your presentation. We will now begin the public comment portion of this hearing. When your name is called, please come forward to the microphone to my right to speak. Each speaker will have a time limit of 5 minutes, and we kindly ask that you be mindful of others, as we would like to hear from all guests who have signed up that are in attendance today. As a reminder, this marks the beginning of the city's of Hartford's budget process, which is broadcasted live through HPA-TV.org. And regarding the time limit, please be respectful of the time. And when the clock hits 5 minutes by Councilman John Gale, you will be asked to please summarize your comments no less than 30 seconds so that we can move on to the next person. So with that being said, the first person up to speak is Africa Tolbert.
That was actually my daughter, but she's not here.
Okay.
So I guess so. Hello. First of all, my name is Louise Tolbert. Africa Tolbert is my daughter. She goes to HMTCA. I've been concerned, she is graduating, she's a senior, but my issue has been that they have cut all advanced placement teachers, and it's been a problem for these children that want to go to a school that they can get a better education for. So it's just something that we need to do about this. We need to find a solution where we're not in this position all the time, because every year we go through this. I live in Cheshire, but my daughter has been in this school for 13 years, since she's been a kindergartner. She came to Batchelder Montessori. It wasn't Batchelder then, but we started at Moylan, and then we went to Medina, and now we came here. And then after that, she went to HMTCA. So we love the school. Again, for 13 years we've been here, but the quality of the school has been decreasing. It's been going down. And we need to do something about it. How can we want to bring our kids back to what? If my daughter was in a senior, I'm telling you, I don't think I would have been returning back, because we don't even have advanced placement, college, ECE. All the teachers are cut, and parents are upset. That's why parents go to a different school. But I decided to stay because she was almost graduating. But for the other kids that are coming on, what can we do for these children? We live in this city. Our children wants to come here. I'm a teacher. I teach right here. I have the passion to teach these children to be good citizens of the world. But without resources, we can't do that. And parents want to come here, but they're always thinking about going somewhere else because they're always worried about teachers being cut. And how can we provide something for our children to benefit them, to be in a world that is competitive? How can we make our Hartford children competitive with the others? That's it.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Regina Albee.
Good evening. My name is Regina Albee. I am a teacher here in Hartford. I'm also a parent. I wrote notes because I'm very confident talking to 7-year-olds all day. This is beyond my confidence abilities. I want to say my daughter has come to Hartford schools. We live in an urban neighborhood, so we have chosen to send her to Hartford schools since kindergarten. I have reached out to both the mayor and our new superintendent. The education has been amazing. I swear every day, I think my daughter got the best teacher every single year. And I want people to know that. Our kids are being educated by people that care and are good. One thing I want to say is, though, I'm reaching out to you and I'm pointing out that she's had amazing teachers since day one. I joke, my daughter found her chosen teacher the first day of kindergarten. She attended kindergarten 8 years ago. I thought she was receiving the most amazing education. She was in kindergarten attending a language class. She was in kindergarten and had a separate science class. That was not comparable to any other school. We stood out. She couldn't have got that education anywhere else. First grade received those same services. And then came budget cuts. So first we see the language leave, and I'm like, well, she's 9 at the time, she'll be fine. Then comes the sciences. But she's still expected to take that state science test. Then we pushed the curriculum back on the teachers, but we didn't get the supplies at the same time. So I got a piece of paper that was like, hey, here's the directions to link onto a website, and I want you to implement this, but I didn't give you any supplies. We don't have any money for supplies. So I know I, as a teacher, was like, I'm out of my box right there. I'm trying to TPT, good old teachers pay teachers, to find a curriculum that can kind of touch those targets. And I know my daughter's teachers were doing the same. As time went on, she transferred into another school in 5th grade. Once again, an amazing experience. But she had a language. This time, it wasn't a live teacher, but there was an app or a program they were using, which was great. So 5th grade and 6th grade were attending a school that she's doing a language. Well, here we go with budget cuts again, and now I have a 7th grader that doesn't take a language. Not the worst thing in the world, but as a teacher and a parent that's looking at, higher education, and we're looking at the high schools in the area, I worry that will there be more budget cuts? Will she not have a language until she goes to college? And I can't say any of this is on her teachers. We continue to cut the core that made us special. Some other things I want to point out is, we do. Another thing I want to point out is my daughter has been exposed to some amazing enrichment programs, and none of those are curriculum that Hartford has given. The teachers are deciding to do special activities. The teachers are deciding to engage their minds physically, emotionally, mentally. This is on the Hartford teachers that are choosing to do this. As a parent, I am extremely lucky that those teachers chose to do that for my daughter. I can't replace that. But also we need to point out, the curriculum and the supplies are not there, so they have to do that. But your Hartford teachers are going to do that, because we will step up. My children and my students will not suffer. Here I am as an educator in Hartford, and I could tell you, I feel the community schools are suffering. As someone that grew up and I spent, tell people, the North End is our home, both myself and my husband. The North End. I have always been on Blue Hills Ave because that's where school was. I'm invested in the North End, and I feel like since I was a child, every time there's a cut, it's going to happen in the North End. I know other people in the city might say, oh no, is this end? No, every time I turn around, it's the North End school that's getting cut. Every time there's something getting closed down, it's in the North End community. We can't forget the North End. You know, there is a lot of history there, and we are Hartford. Another thing I want to point out, as the drama of the Hartford Public Schools budget deficit is played out on social media, I am frustrated that how our students are mocked and ridiculed. My students are amazing. And to see people, grown adults, and I won't say they're in this room, criticize children that can't read, our kids are bigger and better than that. I have amazing, brilliant students. And if anybody wants to come by, stop by. I will show you. You know, I've been in Hartford, back in Hartford teaching for 10 years. When I started, we had tutors for reading. We had tutors for math. We had extra office people. We had extra support to help the struggling students. For example, every time somebody gets cut, it's the support staff. Having retired certified teachers coming, that then last year they were cut to part-time. So we had 1 full-time teacher, 3 part-time teachers doing tutoring, which was helpful. This year we have 1 person who's managing tutoring, MTSS, all this. It's unattainable. It's comical to think that our kids are getting the services that they need and deserve. Another thing with our budget cuts, and this has been going on for years, besides we don't have librarians, for years the budgets have affected our school supplies, and the answer was, hey, you should fill out a donor's choose. And in the beginning, I wanted donor's choose. I filled out those forms. Well, guess what? I shouldn't be begging for paper, crayons, and pencils. I will say, like 2 years ago, I was teaching kindergarten, and Shaler Subaru from Hartford had to give me lined papers so I could teach letter tracing.
Can you please summarize?
My kids are amazing, and they deserve better.
Thank you. Lucas St. Just.
Can we break this down a little bit? How do we bring this down?
Take it out. I'll hold it for you.
Yeah.
My name is Lucas St. Just. I am a second grader at Batchelder Montessori. I love my school. I know my school was on the list of schools with PCBs and scheduled to be renovated. I'm asking that you support this construction so my brother, cousins, friends, and I can learn and grow in a safe and healthy environment.
Thank you very much. Melissa Yenny.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Just before I get started, I am Melissa Yenny St. Just. I'm a Hartford Public School teacher. I am a city resident and also a Harvard Public School parent. Just as I saw the slides, just wanted to point out, just as a resident, I would love to see a breakdown in funding, like by the departments, just to know like what, because I see that education is a huge portion, but just out of curiosity to see it here, and I know I can probably search online, but just what's being spent in all the city departments across the board, because it feels a little unfair just seeing education and not seeing everyone else. And then what I came prepared to speak about was really that I and fully supporting the work that our new superintendent is doing to bring kids back to Hartford. What we don't realize, the unintended consequences of Chef, and how the mindset of our community is to send our kids out. And we are failing to recognize that we need to stay and we need to make our city better. So at any point in time, I will support always bringing our kids back to Hartford Public Schools. They need to be here. But in the same sense, we need to provide them with a quality education when they get here. Also, I support city officials, Hartford Public School officials, being able to work together to fill this deficit. As a teacher, we are burnt out. I am a health and PE teacher, but I am also an athletic director. I am also a social worker. I am a behavior tech. I am it sometimes feels like I'm a custodian. I'm doing everything because we are so short-staffed. So we need to figure out how to fund education. There is no option to not fund it. We can't continue to flat fund it as well, because then we're wondering, there's these social media conversations about kids are not learning how to read. Of course, things are not happening because the resources are not allocated to make them happen. And I do want to leave you with a Frederick Douglass quote. I'm sure many of you have heard this before. It is easier to build strong children than to fix broken men. So we're tackling all these issues up top. I know there's a ton of issues in our cities, but if we know that we can really target from early childhood education, help our kids learn how to read at 3 years old, at 4 years old. This is she's not here anymore, but my son's teacher. My sons are reading. My 4-year-old is reading. I don't remember reading at 4 years old, and he is reading chapter books. It is amazing what I am seeing, and there are teachers in this district that can do that work if we support them to be able to do it. Please fund education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hyacinth Yenny.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council members, and everyone. Good to see you this evening. So I'm here to speak and support for departments that work in the city, such as Public Works, Fire, Recreation, Police, and Senior Center, Capital Improvement. For too long, we have just react to things. We are not proactive. We wait until something broken before we fixed it. We look at Public Works. They have so many old vehicles there. We need to stop. And Mayor, I know that you're new to this, but I'm hoping that you hire a wonderful person to do Public Works. I'm hoping you'll give him the tool to do his job. Because when we have a clean city and a working city, people stay. I know we have issue around taxes and stuff like that, but we need to make sure we are pressing the state to pay us in lieu of tax. Let's face it, Hartford is the hub for nonprofit. We need to do better. We need to fight harder to get the state to give us what we deserve, okay? Whether it's education, whether it's, public safety, whatever it is, we need to do a little more hard pushing on them, all right? So I'm looking at that. Capital improvement, we definitely need to do some work. Our sidewalks are broken. A lot of, I'm not sure how many lawsuits you've got through the city from people who's fallen over broken sidewalk and stuff like that. That needs to be fixed, okay? We need to have money to fix those sidewalks. Again, we have 311 just move over into Public Works. We're gonna need staffing for that. We can't just say we're moving it there and give no staff to do it. So that needs to happen. So when that budget comes, that needs to be added in. It's really important. Recreation, I want to make sure we continue to keep our kids off the street in a safe place where they can have a good time and, they're out of harm for crime or guns or drugs or whatever the case may be. They need to be supported, all right? Fire, We need to make sure the fire department have the funding that they need for going out and do some more education. We've had a lot of fire recently because the education is not getting out there to let people know what they need to do and from what not to do. Police, we need to support their effort. We know that other towns have taser, that every officer have a taser, and I think we should do the same thing for Hartford, because if we can use a taser, it will be better than a gunshot, okay? So I think it's really important for us to look for positive things that we can use instead of waiting for somebody to get killed before we do something about it. So those are some, and my seniors, they need a place to be, a safe place where they can be happy. We need to keep our seniors in Hartford. They're leaving because they can't afford housing because it's too high. We have so many empty buildings in this city. We should make sure all our seniors are staying here. They are our voters. They vote. But we need to keep them in the city. And I'm hoping that we can do more. And I know everything, takes forever to get done, and you can only do so much. But I'm hoping we can push a little further and faster to get things done, especially around our senior housing. Because most time what's happening to them, they can't afford to stay in their home anymore, so they're looking at a place where they can be comfortable, and they're moving into the suburb town. So what does that leave us, all right? So I'm asking you please to push harder at the state level, and my state rep, James Sanchez, I'm hoping he will, and I know Senator John Fanfara is doing the same thing. We need to push harder on the state to give us the money that we need to make our city runs, okay? We live here, and we want to see we have clean street, clean everything, and again, make sure public work have what they need to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Frank Sittner.
Hi, I'm apparently not Frank, but he was nice enough to yield some of his time to me. Before I start, I want to echo a lot of what people are talking about education here. I was a Hartford Public School graduate, K through 12, and we need to fund Hartford Public Schools. All right, so. Okay, so good evening, council members and Mayor Roonen. My name is Evangeline Cartagena. I am the program director for Hartford Decides. Hartford Decides is a nonprofit that facilitates participatory budgeting here in Hartford. And we're gonna go with PB for short because that's really hard for me to say sometimes. So for those who might not be aware what PB is, it's a tool that puts decision-making power directly into the hands of residents. It's not just about reacting to issues, it's about letting people shape real solutions in their community. First, there are a few things I think we do very well in this work. First, we go directly into the community, we talk to people, we listen, and we collect their ideas. That's the majority part of my job, so I get to talk to residents directly, and they voice their frustrations and concerns. But they also they show me their creativity here in Hartford and what they want to see done to bring life back into Hartford. When we do, our funding comes from the capital improvement plan, so it won't take away from the education or anything that is in dire need of being funded. So the second thing I think we do well is we help bridge the gap between residents and the city process. A lot of the times when we talk to residents, they get frustrated because they don't know why something's delayed. They don't know why it's taking so long. And when we meet with any department, DPW, libraries, park, they give us insight as to why something takes its time, and then we relay that information back to the residents. Not all of them are happy with the answers, but they do understand a little bit more about the capacity that Hartford has. Third, we bring people into the civic process. So many of you might not know the process. When we go into the community, we collect these ideas for projects they want to see in their parks, in their schools, anything that is public, we can do a project on through the CIP plan. So what we do is we develop these ideas, and most important, the underlying message of Hartford Decides and PB is we want people to be more civically engaged. So the third part of our cycle is to have people vote on the projects. Now, the voting process is the most important part because sometimes people feel left out of the conversation, or maybe they don't want to get involved, or sometimes they're not able because of their status here, their citizenship or things like that. That's not something we worry about. You can be 10 years and older, so we also try to involve the youth to participate and know that voting is important. And then to close, no, there's one more. Lastly, I think we build trust. When people see their ideas come to fruition, it changes how they see the city. And I've seen this with my own eyes, and I've spoken to people who've had their ideas implemented by the city. And it shows them that their voice matters, and that helps, I think that helps strengthen the relationship between the residents and the city. So now, to close, I believe PB is something that's working here. It is a process, and as you probably know, not all processes are perfect, but it's building connection, trust, and real engagement, and I hope you'll consider continuing to support and fund this work so we can keep growing the impact that we have in the community. Thank you so much.
I'll use up the last part. I hear it from my fellow Democratic Town Committee members. I hear it from my fellow NRZ leaders. Civic engagement is the most important component of connecting with our people in the city, and that's what this is. This is a class in civic engagement. We got $100,000 as a line item in the CIP budget last year. I was dismayed to see that we had no line item. We've been level out at $100,000 for the last 3 years. We would like to show the people of the city of Hartford that their voice matters, and in that regard, we'd appreciate it if you could increase it to $150,000. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lindsay Glick.
Hello, Lindsay Glick. I'm going to speak a little bit off the cuff here. I am a Hartford Public Schools teacher. I'm also a Hartford resident. I've lived in this city for about 6 years. I've also taught in Hartford Public Schools for 6 years. I think it's commendable what you were saying. I am happy that you are working with our superintendent. I'm happy that you are willing to fight for some state money because we clearly don't have any other options. There's not, again, I've been working in Hartford Public Schools for 6 years. We don't have anything more to cut. Every year it's like, there's another job gone, there's another job gone, and you say that we have to put some skin in the game, but our kids are that skin, and we don't have those to cut. So, we need some more solutions that we can actually make work and that are not gonna harm our kids and make their futures harder than they have to be. We all wanna work together. Nobody is trying to say that your plan is bad or that we don't agree or that we can't find common ground, but we can't let that common ground, we can't let our kids be suffering because of that. That's just not okay. I love my kids just like our other teachers here. They have potential. They want to go to college. They want to make amazing things happen in this city. And because of the education that they're getting cut from, they won't be able to do that, or they might have a much harder time doing that. And I don't think that's fair to our kids just because they live in Hartford. And that's kind of what I want to say.
Thank you. Next speaker is Saida Ray Fisher. Saida Ray Fisher.
Good evening, City Councilman, City Councilwoman, Mayor Lumpalum. I'm going to read my statement because I prepared it and I have a lot on my brain, super distracted, lesson plans, dinner, kids who you'll hear from in a second, and I'm just going to read. My name is Saida Ray Fisher. I wear many hats, but I'm speaking before you today, not just as an educator, but as a Hartford native, parent, and concerned resident. This situation in Hartford Public Schools feels like a double-edged sword. On one hand, I'm reading headlines saying rainy day funds won't be available, meaning we won't have access to funds needed to meet our financial obligations. Thank you for speaking on that today. I have a little bit more clarity. But on the other hand, I'm also seeing headlines about lawsuits tied to Chef versus O'Neill, claiming violations of students' rights to a quality education, and that's really what I want to focus on today. So when the superintendent takes steps to bring students back to Hartford so that funding remains in Hartford, that effort is suddenly portrayed as a problem. As a Hartford parent, that contradiction is unacceptable. I see Craig Magnet and charter schools advertising, billboards, posters, yet when Hartford Public Schools engage in outreach, it's framed as interfering with choice. Since when is Hartford Public Schools not allowed to advocate for its own students? And we need to be honest about what choice actually looks like. Yes, families can apply, but many are not selected. Lottery systems and limited seats mean thousands of students remain right here in Hartford, not because their families didn't try, but because they weren't chosen. And while those students stay, Hartford continues to lose millions providing transportation and services for students leaving the district, money that's no longer available for the children who remain, like my children. And while those students stay, Hartford continues to lose, So my question is this: do we stop caring about those children who are still here in Hartford? Because they also deserve a high-quality education right where they live. They deserve fully funded schools. I'm not calling for the abandonment of Chef, but what was the right situation decades ago does not automatically remain the right solution forever. So as someone who is boots on the ground as both a teacher and a parent, I see the unintended consequences that Melissa spoke about, and Hartford is paying the price. Now that we have a new superintendent, let's not deflect blame onto someone who has been here for less than a school year. That's just ingenuous. Because I was here last year alongside educators, unionists, parents, and advocacy groups asking for the same thing that we are asking here today. Increase the ECS formula after more than a decade of flat funding. Provide relief for the tens of millions of dollars that Hartford Public Schools is in debt, and also to fully fund our schools. And at the end of the day, ECS still stay the same, and we still were not fully funded. And now people are surprised that Hartford is facing a $74 million deficit, and then want to blame the new guy. And it's just wrong. We have known about these systemic failures for decades. The data isn't new, the warnings were clear. What's been missing is the action. And I'm not just talking about from the city, I'm also talking about from the state. This is not just a Hartford Public Schools problem. Educational inequity in our state's capital affects all of us. If we are willing to leave some children behind, especially those who remain in Hartford Public Schools, then we are failing not just Hartford, but the entire state. The ECS fund formula must be increased this year. Hartford Public Schools must be fully funded, and we all know the problem. So while our children are all watching, I'm gonna ask you, what is the message that you want to send to them about their worth?
Thank you very much. Naima F.
You got it, Naima. Come on. You got it, girl.
It's the F for Fisher.
Hello, my name is Naima Fisher, and I am a 7th grader at Annie Fisher Montessori in Hartford.
When I hear that my school district needs money and we are not giving what we need, it makes me feel like they are giving up on me and my future. Every day I do my part. I come to school, I work hard, I get good grades, and I stay out of trouble. I even go beyond. I'm a Hartford Youth Scholar. So if I am doing everything I'm supposed to do, then my school should be fully funded. I expect my city and my state to care about me, my siblings, and all the other kids in Hartford. I love being able to go to school in my city. I love learning with my friends during the day and going to the park with them after school. Some of the closest friends lives right in my neighborhood, and that makes school feel like a real community. I also love visiting the farm and learning how to cook. Those are some of my favorite experiences at school. But when I think about what school could be, I also think about what we're missing. I wish we had more opportunities like more sport teams like soccer or chance to learn other languages. Those are things that could open doors for me and help me grow. But instead of gaining more opportunities, it feels like we are losing them. And when that keeps happening, it makes me feel like we, the kids of Hartford, are being limited in what we can become. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We're showing up. We're trying. I was taught to be proud of who I am and where I come from. But sometimes it feels like people who are looking down on Hartford and expecting us to fail. Today is April Fool's Day, but we're not a joke. I am asking you to invest in Hartford kids like me and give our school money. I don't care about politics. I just want a good education so I can be the best version of me. Thank you.
Our next speakers are Nyasia and Devon.
Hello, my name is Nyasia Fisher, and this is my little brother Devon. We go to Annie Fisher Montessori Magnet. Every year, we have cuts at my school. My brother wanted to talk about his paraprofessional that he lost at the end of last year.
My name is Devon Fisher. My favorite person name is Miss Real. She was my para from first grade into third grade. I used to get in trouble sometimes, but she helped me a lot. She used to play with me and learning started to be more fun. Miss Reals bring me on walks, bring me to gym, and help me to calm down. When other kids bother me, when I was with her, I don't get in that much trouble anymore. She used to give me hugs and make me feel safe, like my mommy does when I am at home. When I come home, I always say I love her. And Miss Reals is the best in the world. Miss Reals left last year. I see her cry because she had to look for a new job. It made me feel sad too. She left Hartford and told me she was going to work at a library. She said she is not leaving because of me and that she loves me so much. I hope she is happy where she is, but I miss her a lot. I wish that parents like her can make a lot of money and schools know how much they mean to us so that parents don't have to cry and they can stay with their kids like me for as long as we need them. May you please help us so nobody else to leave?
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for our students. Our next speaker is J. Stan McCauley.
Good evening, Madam City Council people and Mr. Mayor, Thomas, everybody. Never underestimate the power of a good night's sleep. You never know when you'll find yourself standing in a microphone forgetting what you came up here to say. I was outdone by those guys, so I just say ditto and go home. I would much rather have not come here and watch this on TV, but the president of the police union forced me to have to come out in public. There's a lot of normalization of things that we just shouldn't stand for going on in Hartford. Mediocrity is not a goal. It is something we should move away from. We deputize men and women to use lethal force to protect themselves and the citizens of this city. Of all the employees that are in this room and all of the unions that represent them, there's only one union that protects people who shoot folk. And they are protected by their contract. We spend a lot of money in this city, and we spend it wisely and justly on the employees who do the work here. There's nothing wrong with our employees. I think people need to start believing in themselves in the city again. But beyond that, I think we really need to have a level of transparency when it comes to this contract with the police department. There's got to be a way to hold them accountable. Their contract ends June 30th. So that means negotiations are going on now. I believe that, muzzle not the ox that feedeth the corn. Muzzle not the ox that treadeth the corn. There we go. You do a day's work, you should get paid. If it's up to me, I'd give everybody double their pay. They get an immediate raise because people do a good job. Now, I'd venture to say that if the trash people went on strike for 4 weeks, this city would shut down. I think they're more important than the police. I really do. I know one thing, if Stevie Jones had been in the Institute of Living and stabbed 2 people in the cafeteria, they wouldn't have shot him. Because there are choices that can be made. Now, everybody in this room knows I didn't vote for the mayor. But my hat's off to you for having the courage to terminate him in the face of what you are obviously going through with the union. We cannot, we cannot allow people to treat our elected officials any old way, because they're us. Whether you like them or not, we have the government we voted for. And if people come to this city and draw money from our treasury and attack our elected representatives, they're not mad at them. They're mad at us. Our elected representatives represent us. They need our support when they're doing right, and they need you to come down to these mics and check them hard when they're doing wrong. That's how you hold people accountable. And people in Hartford need to start holding all of us accountable. This room should be packed with residents. I'll use my last 5 seconds to say, give this man all the money he needs, and we need to reopen that chef thing and take that back to court and shut it down.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rosemary Rodriguez.
Buenas noches con todos. Mi nombre es Rosmalí, soy parte del Comité de Escuelas del Colectivo de Defensa de Hartford y tengo a mi nena en la escuela Magnet Montessori Bachelor. Les pido encarecidamente que apoyen a todas nuestras escuelas públicas de Hartford. Las escuelas son una base principal para nuestros hijos. El gobierno aprobó un presupuesto para la reconstrucción de escuelas, en las cuales está la escuela de mi hija y otras como Moylan School, Parville Community School y María Sánchez. ¿Por qué todavía se han empezado estas reconstrucciones? Si se necesita arreglar techos, calefacción en algunos salones de clases y baños. ¿Qué se está esperando? Necesitamos que esos fondos sean utilizados para el bienestar de la educación de nuestros niños. Los fondos ya han sido asignados.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosemary. I am on the school committee for the Hartford Defense Collective, HDD, and my daughter attends Magnet Montessori Bachelor. I urge you to support all Hartford public schools. Schools are the fundamental foundation for our children. The government has approved a budget for schools reconstructions, which includes my daughter's school and others like Moylan School, Parkville Community School, and Maria Sanchez School. Why haven't these reconstructions begun yet? Given the need for roof repairs, heating in some classrooms, and bathrooms renovations. What are we waiting for? We need those funds to be used for the benefit of our children's education. The funds have already been allocated.
Si de verdad le interesa el bienestar de la ciudad, por favor reconstruya estas escuelas y invierta en nuestras escuelas públicas del barrio. Se dice que nuestros niños son el futuro. ¿Qué futuro estamos dando a nuestros hijos? Señor alcalde, ¿qué futuro quiere para la ciudad de Hartford? Hoy por nuestros niños, mañana por una mejor educación. Y muchas gracias.
If you truly care about the well-being of the city, please rebuild these schools and invest in our neighborhood public schools. They say our children are the future. What kind of future are we giving them? Mr. Mayor, what kind of future do you want for the city of Hartford? Today, we're working for our children, and they are the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Amelia Fuentes.
Buenas tardes, señor alcalde y concejales. Mi nombre es Emilia Fuentes, soy una madre y soy parte del Comité de Colectivo de Defensa de Hartford, de HDD. Tengo a mis dos hijas aquí en la escuela Magnet Montessori Bachelor. A mí me gustaría que inviertan el dinero a las escuelas que necesitan la remodelación. He visto durante 6 años los despidos de los maestros, el problema de las estructuras de las escuelas, como los baños, el gimnasio. Y la eliminación de la aplicación Alexia, que es una herramienta muy importante para el aprendizaje de idioma inglés, en especial para los niños bilingües. Además, un ejemplo, mi hija un día llegó a casa muy triste e incómoda porque no pudo usar el baño, que no tenía puerta. Hay muchos... Solo arreglaron el baño después de que fuimos a reclamar.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members of Hartford. My name is Amelia, and I am on the school committee for the Hartford Defense Collective, HDD. My 2 children attend Magna Montessori School for 6 years. I have witnessed teachers laid off and problems with the school infrastructure, such as the bathroom and gym, and the removal of the Lexia app, which is a crucial tool for English language learners, especially bilingual children. Furthermore, one day my daughter came home upset and uncomfortable because she couldn't use the bathroom. It didn't have doors. They only fixed the bathroom after we complained.
Por estos motivos pedimos que se utilicen los fondos de ahorro para pagar el déficit de las escuelas y exigimos que haya un impacto directo a la calidad de la educación de nuestros hijos, porque ellos están en el momento que absorben conocimiento a grandes pasos y son niños solo una vez. Ellos merecen ambiente seguro donde puedan alcanzar su máximo potencial.
For those reasons, we ask that the saving funds be used to pay for the school deficit. And we demand a direct impact on our quality of our children's education because they are at a crucial stage in their life, absorbing knowledge rapidly, and they are only children once. They deserve a safe environment where they can reach their full potential, maximum potential.
Nuestros impuestos deben ser usados para fortalecer nuestras comunidades, nuestra ciudad. Invertir en nuestras escuelas de barrio de calidad es necesario para el presente y el futuro de Hartford.
Our taxes should be used to strengthen our communities, our city. Investing in our quality neighborhood schools is essential for Hartford residents and the future.
Thank you very much. Griselda Ramirez. Griselda Ramirez, all right.
Buenas tardes, señor alcalde y concejales de Hartford. Voy a leer por una compañera que no está.
So, hello, council members from Hartford. I will be reading from someone that's not here today.
Me llamo Elsa, soy parte del comité de escuela del colectivo de defensa de Hartford. Y mi hijo va a la escuela MF de Fox. Hoy estoy aquí muy preocupada. Me pido que lleven SNAP para los compañeros de la escuela. Los baños siempre se dañan cuando mi hijo llega a casa. Lo primero que utiliza es el baño y yo le pregunto por qué no fue a la escuela, al baño de la escuela. Yo apenas lo recojo en la escuela y me dice que necesita usar el baño. Estaba cerrado porque se dañó. Esto ocurrió frecuentemente. Esto es una necesidad primaria para el aprendizaje y salud de nuestros hijos. Hoy les pido que tomen la responsabilidad y arreglen esos baños porque es muy importante. Necesitamos una escuela al día contado con sus servicios que funcionan bien. Investigar en nuestras escuelas públicas no es un lujo, es una emergencia. Es hora de usar todos los fondos resultado de nuestros impuestos. Y gracias.
Good afternoon. I'm reading for Elsa. I am on the school committee for the Hartford Defense Collective, HDD, and my son attends MD Fox Elementary School. I am here today with a lot of concern. I'm asked to bring snacks for my son is asked to bring snacks for his classmates. The restrooms are always out of order. When my son gets home, the first thing he does is use the bathroom. I asked him why he didn't use the restroom after school. I barely picked him up from school, and he tells me I need to use the restroom because it was closed since it was broken. This happens frequently. This is a basic necessity for children's learning and health. Today, we're asking to take responsibility for fixing these restrooms because it's so important. We need schools with functioning restrooms, investing in our public schools, and actually in emergency. It is time to use all the money saved for our taxes in our school.
Thank you. Next speaker is Xiomara de la Cruz.
Buenas tardes, voy a representar a Xiomara de la Cruz, ya que también soy parte de este grupo y todos los que estamos aquí. Quería resaltar también que ahora hemos traído nosotros interpretación, porque la ciudad no nos ha dado interpretación al español.
So good afternoon. I will be speaking to for Xiomara because I'm also part of the group. So I will be reading her statement. And also I would like to mention that we had to bring our own interpretation because the city didn't provide us with an interpreter.
Buenas tardes, señor alcalde y concejales de Hartford. Me llamo Xiomara y represento a un grupo de padres de varias escuelas públicas de Hartford, Andy Fox, María Sánchez, Parkville Community School, Montessori at Bachelor, Hartford Magnet Trinity College Academy, Moylan School y Classical Magnet. Somos miembros del colectivo de defensa de Hartford y juntos desarrollamos nuestro comité de escuelas porque vimos que nuestros hijos y sus escuelas tienen problemas muy similares.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members of Hartford. My name is Xiomara, and I represent a group of parents from several Hartford public schools, including MD Fox, Maria Sanchez, Parkville Community School, Montessori at Batchelder, Hartford Magnet Trinity College Academy, Moylan School, and Classical Magnet. We are members of the Hartford Advocacy Collective, and together we form our school committee because we saw that our children and their schools face very similar challenges.
Algunos problemas son en las estructuras de los edificios. Encontramos que nuestras escuelas tienen baños cerrados o en mal estado. Algunas salas de clases no tienen calefacción. Hay gimnasios cerrados por daños de agua y hasta aulas de clases cerradas por falta de mantenimiento.
Some problems are in the structures of the building. We find that our schools have closed or damaged bathrooms. Some classrooms do not have heating. Their gyms are closed due to water damage, and even classrooms closed due to lack of maintenance.
También no tenemos completo el personal. Nuestras bibliotecas se han cerrado. Nuestros estudiantes no tienen los suficientes asistentes de profesores por falta de presupuesto. Piden a los padres llevar materiales para la escuela, desde artículos de limpieza hasta snacks para los compañeros de clase.
We also don't have a full staff. Our libraries are closed. Our students don't have enough teachers' aides due to budget constraints. Parents are being asked to bring school supplies, from cleaning products to snacks for classmates.
En las reuniones mensuales del Comité de Construcción de Escuelas, en las reuniones de padres y maestros PTOs y las reuniones de gobierno de las escuelas SGC, no existen traducción al español a pesar de haberlo pedido.
There's no Spanish translation or interpretation at the monthly school building committee meetings, Parent-Teacher Association, PTO, meetings, and school governments councils, SGC meetings, despite having been requested.
Por esto estamos aquí, para pedir que la ciudad de Hartford apoye a las escuelas públicas de nuestros hijos. La ciudad tiene fondos disponibles de más de $70 millones para cubrir las necesidades de los residentes. Pido que estos fondos se usen para liquidar el déficit de las escuelas públicas esperados para los años 26 y 27. Antes se había pedido 30 millones, ahora el déficit es 70 millones.
That is why we're here, to ask the city of Hartford to support our children's public school, to ask the city of Hartford to support our children's public schools. The city has over $70 million available to meet the needs of residents. I ask that these funds be used to eliminate the projected public deficit for the school year 2026-2027. Before, we used to ask for 30 million, now we're asking for 70.
Estos fondos de la ciudad son para cubrir posibles futuras emergencias en nuestra ciudad, pero nosotros decimos que nuestras escuelas están en este momento en un estado de emergencia, donde cada día nuestros hijos pierden su amor, pasión y entusiasmo por su educación. Esto es una emergencia. Nuestros hijos no deben ser los que sufran porque las autoridades no han encontrado una fórmula para financiar nuestras escuelas públicas de barrio.
The city has funds and are meant to cover potential future emergencies in our city. But we say that our schools are currently in a state of emergency, where every day our children lose love, passion, enthusiasm for their school. This is an emergency. Our children should not be the ones who suffer because of the authorities haven't found a way to fund our neighborhood schools.
Thank you. The time has expired. I understand. Let me finish, please. Can you please summarize?
Hoy he tenido la oportunidad de escuchar a niños entusiasmados por sus escuelas, a profesores y al alcalde. Gracias a que hemos podido conseguir interpretación. Cuando vamos a las reuniones, realmente no nos sentimos a gusto porque no tenemos esta interpretación.
So today I had the pleasure of hearing children that were excited about their school, also teachers. And I also had the pleasure of being able to listen and understand all this meeting because we had interpretation. And when we usually go to the other meetings, we don't have interpretation.
Queremos trabajar juntos, por eso estamos aquí. También vamos a ir hacia el gobernador. Gracias.
We want to work together. That's why we are here, and we're also going to be visiting the governor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Constanza. All right, we'll go back to Constanza. Angela Harris.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. I rise today. My name is Angela Harris, Chair of the Phillips Health Ministry at Phillips Metropolitan CME Church. on 2500 Main Street in Hartford. I also serve as the resident liaison for the North Hartford Promise Zone Health and Wellness Initiative, which comprises the 3 Promise Zone neighborhoods, Clay Arsenal, Upper Albany, and the Northeast. I would like to speak to you tonight on a few topics, and I will do so quickly. I would be remiss, with next week being Health Equity Week, not to speak on health equity, civic engagement, public safety, and mental health crises. If you don't know, and for the audience listening, Hartford has a 16 to 20-year life expectancy gap between Hartford and 3 miles away West Hartford, depending on where you put the pin in the map, where our residents are living 16 to 20 years less, okay? So when we make decisions and push off decisions, folks are dying in the process. As you prepare this budget, I just want to alert you that the federal bill, H.R. 1, and I won't call it the name it's been given, has some markers that take effect January 1, 2027, which is in the middle of this budget year, which is why it's significant. Work requirements and volunteerism will be necessary for residents to maintain their health insurance, those that are on Medicaid, which in Connecticut is called Husky. We have disconnected youth, low income, and unemployed residents that can have volunteer opportunities and paid internships where? At the City of Hartford in all its various departments. Are you preparing for that? If we didn't learn anything else during the pandemic, what we do know is that if I get sick, you can be sick, because we're all in this together. And if you're not aware, when they called it essential workers, many of these folks live in Hartford that work multiple part-time jobs. None of those employers are required to provide them health insurance, so they rely on Husky. Just a few numbers: 3.5 million folks that live in Connecticut, 300,000 folks in the state of Connecticut are on Medicaid or some DSS benefit. In Hartford, of 121,000 per the 2020 census, 37,000 residents in Hartford are benefits have from Medicaid and Husky and other DSS cash assistance benefits. That's 31% of the residents in Hartford are on these benefits, and 12% for Connecticut. We know food is medicine. We need to land the plane and get more full-service grocery stores in Hartford because food is medicine. Civic engagement. Voting rights are being threatened on the federal level. So we need to depoliticize the registrar's office here in Hartford and make sure everyone is registered to vote and actually vote. A couple of years back, this council did a line item increase for both the Democrat and Republican registrar, $32,000 in the stroke of a pen on an annual salary. What is difference? We have the poorest voter outcome of many of the areas, to the fact that folks like Hartford Foundation are putting out grants for civic engagement. We need to do better. As the superintendent would say, we need to raise the bar. And finally, you all have $850,000 earmarked for capital improvements on the Hartford Police Department shooting range. We need to make decisions based on reality and in context with what's happening in our daily lives and in the lives of the residents, perhaps that $850,000 could perhaps fully fund the HEART team that responds to mental health crises. I ask that you would consider that. I'm sure I'll be back by April 28th with some additional details as I go through the budget, but we need to raise the bar and hold folks accountable, especially when they're given increases to their salaries, to do better. A Democratic town committee should not be able to make decisions for the residents. They need to get to the polls, and the folks that get paid to do that every day need to do their job.
Thank you very much. Amanda Naimi.
Okay, I'm a little short for this. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Naimi, and I'm a Hartford Public School teacher. I've been teaching in education for the past 12 years, and I just want to appreciate and shout out the students and teachers that spoke today, especially the students. That's why we do this work. It's so inspiring, and thank you for what you shared. I love being a teacher. If I didn't, I wouldn't have made it this far, honestly. I love our students, and I love science. I can be found super fanning at my students' games, planning interactive experiments, and asking for donations and support for my classroom, from food to supplies to grants. And while I have many thoughts of my own, today I'm actually going to share with you the thoughts and perspectives of our students. Knowing that many of them could not be here today themselves, I opened up this conversation in my classroom during every single block. My students will tell you my top core value is integrity, and I promised them that I would share their voices and concerns with you all today, so here goes nothing. I know I can't let them down or go against my word. I will do my best to provide the level of detail that they shared with me while hitting on all the topics. Okay, 3:44, I gotta go fast. Better food. They mentioned moldy produce, expired food, and milk. Many students echoed this one. They want vending machines that students can actually access, that take cash. They said it would even make more money, so maybe that would help. I don't know. But I provide a daily snack for my students just to help them make it through this 5-hour gap, and food is a basic human need between breakfast and lunch. Facilities. They mentioned water leaks in the classrooms, which I have one of, as well as the bathrooms, mold in the classroom. They don't want to sit in their seats because there's water on the floor. They're worried about their health because they're breathing in mold every day. In the bathrooms, they mentioned broken sinks, no stall doors. In the boys' bathrooms, they said none of the stalls have doors. In the girls' bathroom, the girls want the window to be covered. There's a sanitary dispenser that charges 25 cents for sanitary products. They believe it should be free and it should be stocked. They said it's usually empty. They want paper towels. They mentioned that the fan, like air drying method, is not sanitary and has germs, so they want paper towels instead. Soap. They said the soap is often empty. A full-size gym and an auditorium. They're tired of using the cafeteria as an auditorium. They don't have a full-size gym, so my students always have to travel away to play, which really is not equitable for them, and it's not giving them a fair shot at being athletes at the next level. The temperatures in the rooms are too hot or too cold. Many days this winter, the temperature was actually above 90 degrees. I teach on the 3rd floor, and teachers have thermometers in their rooms, and it was over 90 degrees for many days. This is just like not possible for kids to focus when they're that uncomfortable. Cleanliness and pests. They mentioned that, and I told them I was gonna tell the truth, so I gotta say everything. They said that last year there were roaches all over the windows. There are a lot of mice in our building. A mouse fell from the ceiling in the cafeteria where they get their food. This happened last week, and I told them I was gonna tell it, so I have to. A mouse fell out of a table in the cafeteria within the past couple of weeks. There was a mouse in the boys' bathroom that they were feeding Starbursts to, and then one of the students kicked it, and I think that mouse is dead now, but again, I'm just letting you know what they told me. There is definitely at least one mouse in my classroom. There's mouse droppings. Wait, that wasn't them, that's me, I'm not gonna be selfish. Teachers and staff, they want nice and patient teachers and staff. Better curricula, this is a direct quote from one of our students, speaks to trying to get students back into Hartford schools. He said, sometimes schools want to attract young people to them, so they have fun curriculum. With the one that we have, it's so boring. We learn nothing, we are bored, we walk out of class, and we sleep. This child is like a genius. He honestly should skip a few grades, and he couldn't be more right. There was a request for more field trips. In terms of technology and computers, they said there are not enough, and the ones that we have are broken and don't function. The internet cut out while I was having this conversation with my students. That happens at least 5 times a day, every single day in my classroom. I teach middle school, so I can't really do sock puppets or story time. The internet kind of has to work. And a student said, schools should have the best Wi-Fi because we need it the most. I will summarize now. The most disheartening thing that happened throughout this conversation today was in response to what my students were sharing as concerns, another one of my students kind of snickered and was like, you guys want what rich schools have. When in reality, everything I just read to you are literally basic necessities of any school, period. And in 2026 in America, it is appalling to me that we think this is okay. I mean, not even we, that anyone thinks this is okay and lets this happen. And I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but again, it's because I care. So in summary, I do believe that while I had a lot of things I could have shared myself, I think my students said it better than I possibly could have. And I'm just gonna leave us with this question. I'm just asking, who is ready to not only listen, but to put our money where our mouth is? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We have a follow-up question. Yes, for you. Do you care to share with us what school you're talking about?
I don't know. Is that safe?
I mean, because we have, it's up to you. It's up to you. If no pressure. If not, I'll find. If not,
you're gonna find out anyways. It's even
no,
scarier.
no, what I mean by
Should
that.
I run?
I will find out, but we won't say it publicly.
Thank you for sharing.
That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. You're not gonna get in trouble. No. Thank you. Our next speaker is Arlene Angel. Is Arlene Angel here?
Hola, hola, buenas tardes. Cónsules y presidente, mire, mi nombre es Arlene Ángel. Soy residente de Hartford de más de 25 años. Siempre he estado luchando para el bienestar de la comunidad. Aquí gracias a mi amiga que me enseñó hace muchos años a ser líder, el de liderazgo. Entonces, he luchado por varias cosas. Ahorita estoy para luchar también por las escuelas públicas de Hartford. Mi hija fue graduada ya hace, ¿qué? 5 años. Salió estuvo en la Belice. Entonces tuve buenas experiencias y otras malas, ¿verdad? Pero la verdad estoy agradecida con lo que había antes, porque antes había más recursos, había más beneficios, más ayuda. Entonces hoy veo a muchas amistades mías sufriendo con sus hijos. Entonces por eso les pido, les ruego, les suplico por favor que apoyen.
Ya se me olvidó la mitad. Ella me entiende. Good afternoon, council people. My name is Arlene Angel. I've been here for about 25 years. I friends here, and they've taught me to be a leader. I've earned some awards based on that too. Back in the day when I was in school, which she was mentioning, I used to be in, the middle school I used to attend was Dwight Belizzi, or also known as Asian Studies Academy. So far, the funding that we had at the time was okay. We were thriving pretty much, but now that the little kids that we saw grow up are attending that school are getting no funding at all. A lot of teachers are losing their jobs. They're always asking for help, raising money themselves. ¿Qué más?
Y también estoy aquí apoyando para el seguro médico Husky, para todos. Yo por años tengo seguro privado, sí, gracias al trabajo de mi esposo que trabaja en la Unión, en la construcción, muy duro, un trabajo muy fuerte. Entonces, yo pago muchos impuestos, pago mucho de mi seguro, pero la mayoría de gente no tiene sus posibilidades de pagar. Entonces, yo por eso ruego y le suplico también apoyen eso del seguro médico Husky para todos en general. Tengan o no tengan papeles, seguir luchando también para que no se los quiten lo que ya hemos logrado por años. Gracias y que tengan buen día y bendiciones a ustedes que me han ayudado mucho y me han apoyado a ser una líder en Hartford program.
Ay, thank you. We're also fighting for Husky for everyone. At first, we were doing it for immigrants, for our people, but with everything going on Husky being at risk of having deducted funds on it, we're fighting for the cause for everyone now because everyone's at risk of losing their insurance. Not only for us adults, but mainly for the kids who we want for them to have good health. Remember, our kids are our future. Without our kids, who's gonna be the next council people? Who's gonna be the next president? Who's gonna be the next teacher? Without our future, we're gonna lose a whole generation. And for what? Because of money that can be controlled, can be fixed. So we're also fighting for Husky for all, for our health, to keep us alive and well. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Lindsay Thompson. Lindsay Thompson. Okay.
Good evening, Council President Clark and members of our City Council and Mr. Mayor and my fellow community members. My name is Lindsay Thompson and I'm the very proud principal of Environmental Sciences Magnet School at Mary Hooker. I'm also a resident in Hartford and I've had the privilege of serving as the principal of our school for 10 years now. Every day I walk through our halls, I see students just like those who spoke today, who are engaged in hands-on learning projects, being challenged with rigorous reading and writing tasks, and exploring how they can make a lasting impact on the world around them as members of a very vibrant community of diverse learners. Our goal as a staff team is to provide every one of our students with the tools they need to succeed in our rapidly changing world. However, as we look toward the upcoming school year, we're facing significant challenges with the fiscal budget that puts all of our children's futures in jeopardy. And to be honest, this has happened all 10 years of my principalship at my school. I would consider it an impossible task for Hartford Public Schools to mitigate this deficit that we're facing at our next school year alone. In our own families, personally, we've experienced the impact of inflation, increased costs, put a strain on our own budgets, and we have to make hard decisions to cut things out of our budgets just to meet our family's basic needs. Faced with continued increasing costs, Hartford Public Schools similarly has done this year after year after year after year, cutting over 400 positions and $70 million in the last just 3 years alone. Our schools are now equipped with the absolute bare minimum to operate as schools. And our children deserve much better resources than what we offer with strained financial resources. They deserve art and music, as well as physical education, reading specialists, math tutors, updated technology, field trips, fully operational libraries with librarians, advanced placement courses, world language courses, and so much more. One thing that's incredibly important in our discussions around the school budgets is that we, as Hartford Public Schools, are an entity of a city. I'm a city employee. My paycheck comes from the city of Hartford. And we want to work together. And there's no way for us to solve this deficit alone. Our budgeting and financial systems are the same. If I request to purchase something, it needs to be approved not only by our financial managers within our own district, but also by the city of Hartford. We have to work together. We must work together both privately and very publicly so our families and parents and our community know that you are working with our superintendent. We shouldn't hope for vacancies, as which has happened the last few years in teaching positions or other support staff to allow for cost savings to meet budget needs. Our children need and deserve every position filled with highly skilled educators and staff. Hartford Public Schools has no meat left to cut out of a budget, as you've seen, and it has continued to cut. As it continues to cut, it would damage our entire structure of the district. A city's strength is defined by the quality of our schools. Investing in our district is not just an expense. It's not a line item. It's a direct investment in the economic and social vitality of our city. I strongly urge this council to support the full budget requests that our superintendent in Hartford Public Schools has requested to ensure that we can provide the high quality education our children deserve. And to be honest, it's still meeting the bare minimum of what we need in our classrooms. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to continue to work together for our students and the future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christina Lentz.
Good evening, and I thank you all in attendance, Mayor, council people. My name is Christina Lintz. I am an ELA teacher at Breakthrough Magnet School South. I teach grades 6, 7, and 8, and I give testimony on behalf of my students and the Hartford community. Breakthrough is a unique school. We have grades preschool through 8th grade, which means we have unique needs in order for our students to receive what they need to reach their full potential as scholars. They are future leaders of our community. The decision was recently made to cut a 4th grade teacher. This means we no longer have positions to serve our students. Another resource teacher is on the line to be cut as well. Our students need these positions. We are going without part-time tutors and, like other people have said, librarians and other sort of support staff to catch kids falling through the cracks. At Breakthrough, funds were used to save as many positions as possible so students can have adults to support them. Personally, I did not have enough books for every student to read our unit's novel, so some students used a digital copy. According to research from Journal of Research and Reading, there is some sort of gap between paper and digital media. This might not seem like a big issue, but it does highlight the much bigger picture that we are facing today. Students are being left behind. Therefore, some of my 6th graders had an inherent disadvantage due to lack of resources. To my students, you are valuable, and so is your voice. Money talks, so we have to ask, what are we telling our kids? I urge the council to direct some of the discretionary funds to help our students. They need these resources, and they need the help to access this education that every student in Hartford is entitled to. It is our job, and education does indeed improve quality of life, and it is an investment that we need to make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth O'Leary.
Hi, again, I'm Elizabeth O'Leary. I'm a resident, I'm a homeowner, I'm an NRZ board member, and I just have some concerns about the budget. Because I come to these meetings every year, and the same thing is said every year, and the same improvements are said are going to be made, and the same funds are not available for said funds. So I just have some comments, maybe some questions. I see that in your little pie chart, again, that the library budget went up 4.3%. So I pay into that, but our neighborhood isn't worthy of that library. So we're paying for other neighborhoods to have libraries, but you don't deem this neighborhood important enough to have a library. So, and no funds were important enough for our neighborhood. And then you mentioned improvements like sidewalks, road repairs. But I find a lot of this is repeat work because the work isn't getting done the right way the first time. So you're doing it again and again and again, and you're doing it on the weekends, and you're doing it at night. And a lot of it stems from, number one, not being done properly the first time, but number two, and I know you just passed something on this, but it didn't apply to the MDC. The MDC is one of the biggest problems when they're digging up our roads because it leads to the sidewalks getting dug up, curbs getting displaced or removed, and then no one is enforcing MDC to do that work, and then the city has to come in and fix what they've torn up because MDC doesn't do it properly. So you're spending a lot of money doing somebody else's job that they should have taken care of. We have the highest mill rate in the state with some of the least amount of services for cities our size because of this. There doesn't, like Hyacinth said, there's a lot of reactive as opposed to proactiveness, which I think results in a lot of these expenses. You know, being part of the NRZ, you're an unpaid volunteer and you're an activist, and it's a little disheartening to come out to the meetings and brainstorm and do work, not to have it recognized by the city, you know, saying, hey, maybe the neighborhoods are right. You seem to be investing in downtown, but the neighborhoods, your communities are the backbone of this city, and that's where you're not investing in. And that's where the problems are. There just seems to be a lot of waste with where you put the money. I was looking for something, I couldn't find it. I'd like to know where the municipal facility renovations for $1 million are. I'd like to know what the specifications are for that, where it is specifically, and then city splash pads, because some of the neighborhoods are overlooked. I'd like to know what deems one neighborhood more important over another neighborhood. And then lastly, although I don't have a dog in this fight anymore, the kids are still important to me. I'm thankful every day that my kids aren't in Hartford Public Schools anymore, because this isn't a new fight. This is the same fight I was fighting 20 years ago when I was on a PTO. And it's the same fight where we would come to the board and we would say, there's no money, there's no this. You are forcing parents to make the decision to remove kids from city schools and put them in magnet schools because you're failing to provide what the magnet schools are. So you've got these parents fighting for a select 60 or 80 spots per school each year, when the focus really should be on what we can do for our kids. And if you have money, you should give it to them because the kids deserve it. You're paying for kids to go, because of Chef versus O'Neill, to other schools. So only a select few kids get that opportunity, but it's the same thing year after year after year. Invest in those kids, give them the money, fix the schools. I'm sure there's some things in here that aren't quite as important as maybe the schools.
Thank you very much. Ella and Charlotte.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Charlotte.
Oh, and my name is Ella. We're sixth graders at Noah Webster Micro Society Magnet School.
And we do have some friends that wish to be here but cannot because of Passover.
And I also heard that some people think that Hartford students can't read. We can read perfectly fine, so just clearing that up. Thank you. Today we are here to talk about Hartford Public Schools' budget. For over a decade, Hartford Public Schools have not been getting a raise. We've had a 0% increase. All of the other city departments have gotten an increase during this time.
But here are some great things about our school. Our school has micro twice a week. During micro, we have our own jobs, like some people work for the bank or the government, others are peacekeepers, and others are managers or employees. It's special to our school because we manage fake money and prepare us for the future to be small business owners, government officials, and other jobs that would be useful in the economy. Kids get to create the rules, and we have similar expectations to the real world, and we give fines to ventures if their employees are not following the expectations. It gives a visual for what the future will be and the expectations. We even collect taxes in micro. If you want us to be doctors, lawyers, and political people when we're grown up, we need a good education now.
We have a wide selection of extracurricular activities. In middle school, we have basketball, volleyball, cross country, and track. Our coaches are a science teacher, someone who works at the central office, and a third grade teacher. I went to the city cross country meet, and I was the top girl in the competition. 2 times a week, we have drama club after school with our social studies teacher and a kindergarten teacher and a volunteer who's in grad school to become a music teacher. We are putting on a SpongeBob musical in April. We're making all the sets and props, and the kids who are acting are working on dancing, singing, and acting skills.
In the 80s, our music teacher, Miss Pete, and her husband, Mr. Wood, had just finished college. They started the orchestra back up in Hartford Public Schools that had been cut in the 60s. She also helps us to connect to the Hart School to be part of the community orchestra with kids from other towns. Mr. Wood is now retired and volunteers on his own time to teach kids at other schools in our own school. And Miss Pete is also in the Hartford Symphony.
If we lose any more funds, me and my peers are concerned that one of these things that we have been listing will be next, that will be gone. We've already lost our Mandarin teacher, and we're concerned on who may be next. Some people say that we aren't the best school compared to suburban schools, but there are no actual proof that they are better than us. If some of you think that we are not as good as the suburban schools, let's hold ourselves to those expectations and make our schools even better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Alyssa Peterson.
Good evening. Some truly gifted speakers this evening. I'm here to address 3 critical aspects of our city budget that this council has the authority to change. That is your primary duty other than mayoral oversight. First, under the police department, you must provide sufficient funds for purchase of non-lethal items that can be more effective with persons having mental health issues or bad drug reactions, including tasers for all police to carry on their belt, beanbag guns, billy clubs, pepper spray, and police shields, all which should be in the trunks of all patrol cars for use to momentarily disorient someone having a mental health or drug episode and get them subdued safely. Next is extra training dollars so officers can be shown how to maximize use of these non-lethal items to help prevent serious assaults or homicide by HPD. It is far less costly to pay for an injury claim rather than tens of millions in dollars in settlement for shooting or killing a victim. To quote participants at the mayor's town hall on Friday, we also need funding for police sensitivity training, anti-racism training, and de-escalation training. The mayor just reassigned 311, emergency services and telecommunications should be next. We need retired or disabled police officers only in that office, plus police supervision 24/7 by existing command staff. Having retired or disabled street-trained officers can better triage many of the calls coming in or better direct police services and not cause emergency situations like the 10-0 call made by a dispatcher that set an adrenaline-charged rookie in motion to shoot a Hartford resident in 40 seconds. The second issue is education funding. I have encouraged council to get legal advice because it's in your budget, but you never do. Former Mayor Bronin and Corporation Counsel Rifkin grossly misled this council and residents when they joined the latest chef lawsuit as interveners. All that did was allow them to get on a bandwagon and agree like bobbleheads to various motions or settlements that were always unsustainable and that structurally harmed the Hartford Board of Education. If you review the court docket of the latest chef case and 2 settlements from 2020 and 2022, it is all about outside school choice. For the last several years, per pupil reimbursement flowed through Hartford and out to suburban schools. This formula perpetually destabilizes Hartford schools and increases funding to suburban schools that don't need it, thereby harming the remaining students in Hartford. It's an unintended consequence of this particular chef settlement that focuses on the choice provision. Trying to provide a quality education with quality teachers and quality schools in Hartford, but with reduced dollars, is an unfunded, illegal mandate. This latest chef settlement has wreaked havoc on our remaining schools, our kids, their parents, and has contributed to the ongoing destabilization of Hartford neighbors in general. Our kids can't go to school together, can't play on sports teams together, and neighbors don't know one another because so many of their kids go to out-of-town schools. This is a structural defect that should be made up this year by a shared cost with the state of Connecticut until a permanent solution can be crafted over the next year. Hartford has almost $50 million in its rainy day fund with the MARB. A deal should be made to split the cost with the state as to what is needed for this next school year budget. As council, you should be encouraging a responsible solution like this, or else we're going to need another Milo chef and some more lawyers to sue on behalf of our neighborhood schools and our Hartford Board of Ed. And finally, I attended a pension commission meeting for the first time in 25 years. I was surprised to learn that these commissioners had not been asked to weigh in on the long overdue cost of living increase for retirees. One member had some very sound advice. Finance a cost of living increase like the city is financing the pension fund deficit over 25 years. Such a cost of living increase could be financed yearly by affordable payments made from the rainy day fund. Retirees will now be going directly to the MARB to seek their input. It's an example of creative problem solving and effective administration. And I want to end on that note, the words effective administration. Mr. Mayor, you heard on Friday at the town hall, a lot of people were so angry at you, so mad at you, so incredibly disappointed with your staff. I was sorry, I was stunned and surprised to hear that. But I really think you need to take that to heart. People want effective administration. And if it means possibly redoing your budget and restructuring your own administrative staff, who it sounds like are not serving this city, I would argue, sir, that you have some work to do within your own office. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Raquel Calderon.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My God, I heard so many things. I don't have much to say anymore. But I am going to talk about the schools, about the staffing, the reduction of the staff. The massive staffing cuts and reduction in force actions have significantly impacted the youth department and the education in the local schools. And I'm not here to give you more headaches, Mayor. I know what you're going through. You have a very difficult position right now. We're going through a lot, not only in Hartford, all over the country. And so what I'm asking the community and everyone is to work together. We need to work together, and we need to be a team player. And I am a team player for this new superintendent. I'm very happy. I think he's going to do a very good job. I have that hope. So the other thing that I wanted to talk, that we've been going through this through 2025 to 2026, and we're going to have more. We have a very difficult time, and what I need to talk to you also about is a public safety. It's big thing. I am in support of the police officers. I understand they're doing the best they can, and I need you to start perhaps hiring more officers. This is too many things happening in Hartford, and I'm talking to you as a community advocate now. There are many auto cars with no insurance driving in Hartford. In the south end of Hartford, speeding, hitting other cars, no insurance. The plates are not even real plates. So we need officers to start going through Hartford and start checking on that. It's a big problem. My car has been hit twice, hit and run. And not only me, but a lot of people are going through that in Hartford. And I know it's not your fault, but we need more officers. The other thing that I would like to talk to you about is the south end of Hartford. I think it's been forgotten. I keep saying that over and over. The blatant is awful. They need to do something. I hear everything done in the north and the west. What's going on with the south end? What's going on with the Wethersfield Avenue, Franklin Avenue? I see a lot of potholes there. We need to think about that too, okay? So the other thing that I wanted to mention is about the teachers. The teachers are quitting because they're not getting paid enough. We have a very challenging time. I see some principals that are present here tonight helping the teachers. They are working as a, they are working as a behavior tag. They are working as a substitute. They're going all over the place. We cannot, we cannot cut anymore. And they need to have music. Children love music. They need to have sports. That's extremely important. They are very happy when they go to gym. They are very happy when they got their music. And we need to start, yes, we have to worry about kids learning to read. And we need, many of them don't know how to write. We need to start teaching like in South America, in South America, we all know how to write, and over here is everything printing. It's because they only use computers, and the computers are so expensive, and they are too many of them. So please do not cut anymore for the schools. We need money, and the way that I think is the best to do the budget is 50, 30, and 20. And 50 is for the needs. 30 is for the wants, and 20 is to pay the bills and the savings. And I'm not here to criticize you, but I'm feeling bad for you because I know there's a lot of problems in Hartford. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Shante Brody.
Mr. Superintendent. Good evening, everyone. Shante Brody. I currently serve as the chair of the Hartford Board of Education, and I can say that I'm very proud of our students tonight. I want to definitely support the speakers that came out to, advocate on behalf of Hartford Public Schools. We do appreciate it. We stand with them in their concerns. They actually had the audacity tonight to raise some things that needed to be brought to the forefront. But I wanted tonight I wanted to use my time, because I'll be at Weaver too. I wanted to speak to like how magical teachers are. So I'm going to use that, because I was sitting back there, and as the young people were talking about their experiences, I've never said this publicly. I have said publicly that I suffered a great tragedy when I was an 8th grade student at Fox Middle. The biggest tragedy of my life, I lost my brother. But one thing I was sitting back reflecting on, when I think about teachers and the impact they have and why we need to keep them, why we need to keep a lot of them, is because when that tragedy happened, my parents didn't quite know how to be supportive because they needed support. But there was a 4th grade teacher I had, Mr. Marshall, who taught at Martin Luther King School, and I'm going to couple that with paraprofessionals, because my paraprofessional was Mr. Clemens, and he lived in my neighborhood. Mr. Marshall had my uncle, who's 5 years older than me. He had my brother that was murdered, who was 2 years older than me, and then he had me. So I remember when my granddad passed away, he came to our funeral. Like, he was a part of our family. But when that tragedy happened, and I kind of was lost, and when I think back, and now they should have questioned me, because I skipped school 8th grade, and I didn't know where to go, but I went back to Martin Luther King School. They let me sign in. I got this, and I just said I wanted to see him. I got to go to his class. I walked around with him all day like the leader, because now I'm 8th grade, and these are little kids. He knew why I was there. He understood that, because he knew my family, but he was so gentle enough to, without even, he didn't say, why you're here. He knew why I was there. And teachers are so critical in the lives of young people in ways that we cannot imagine. For the fact that now, decades later, it still helps me in the work that I do to know that if we are not fighting to get like a robust staff and keeping staff in place, people are talking about our classroom sizes are small, too small. It's not true, but even so, right, with the trauma that some of our students and the needs they have and that they bring to school with them, for us to have large classrooms would seem criminal, because it's just too much. We have so much need, and we are relying on our staff to be that for our students. And they show up every day. They deliver to our students every day. They deserve all the extra supports that we need to give them. They deserve all the things, because they are the ones who essentially are shaping the students to feel secure, feel like they belong somewhere. It never, ever escapes me. I know every single teacher I've had from kindergarten all the way through high school by name, because that's who we spend a lot of time with. So we can't shortchange our students when we're thinking about, like, staff layoffs is unimaginable. It's something we don't want to consider. So when we're making these decisions, I'm just pleading with you to just know that that is one thing we cannot do and we cannot afford to do. We cannot jeopardize the people who stand in front of our children, who give them love every day, who give them hope every day, who make them comfortable. And as we say in Hartford Public School, they are their person. So we have to partner to make sure that is definitely one cut that we're not going to make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Richard DeMay.
Good evening, everyone here, and thank you for being here and for listening. It wasn't my intention to speak this evening, but I was so inspired by the young people who had the courage and the bravery to come before all of us and spoke their experiences and their truth. My name is Richard DeMay, and I'm a resident here in Hartford. I'm a homeowner, and I'm a 3-time foster parent, and very importantly, I'm an educator in Hartford. In my 20th year in Hartford, but my 40th year in education. I am here to shout out all of the young people and everyone else who spoke up this evening, but I also want to speak about my experience in Hartford for the last 20 years and why it's important to fully fund Hartford Public Schools. See, I teach foreign languages. I'm a passionate polyglot, multilingual person, and I am the result of a fully funded school system. And I have the privilege of teaching some of the most special students I've ever came across in my 40 years of teaching. Those are the Hartford students who inspire me every day. And I leave sometimes with frustrations, but I also leave with inspiration and the hope that someday they will get what they deserve in Hartford. In order for that to happen, schools must be fully funded. See, over the 20 years, I've worked with some of the most amazing, and I repeat, amazing, talented educators. Let me say it again. The most amazing and talented and passionate and committed educators here in Hartford. A significant number of my colleagues then, they are no longer in Hartford because of budget cuts. And the kids I have in my classroom, just to talk about some of them. There's a little boy in 3rd grade, African-American boy. Every morning when he sees me at the beginning of the school day, he says to me, "Konnichiwa." Mind you, I teach Spanish, but he is aware of multiple languages being spoken in our district. And so he has made it his business every week to surprise me with yet another language, to greet me in that language, hoping or perhaps thinking that I also speak that language. So he says, "Ni hao." Then another time he says, "Como está acá?" And another time he says, "Tika ni skala." And I'm always blown away and inspired by him. What saddens me, however, is that if he stays in Hartford, and given the last 20 years since I've been here, he may never, not in Hartford at least, be able to reach his goals or to dream as I have had the opportunity to dream to become a multilingual person. And so, I am pleading with you to love in action, not in rhetoric. Love in action. As Jesus told his disciples, right? If you love me, you will keep my commandments. That was love in action. And you don't have to be Christian, but love in action don't tell Hartford students that you care about them or that you love them. Show them that you care about them and that you love them, because they indeed are our future, but they're also our present. Love them in action today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Shamar Logan.
Good evening, Council. Mr. Mayor, nice to see you after Friday night. I had a lot written down tonight, but I'm very, very emotional. My daughter actually went to this school when she was younger. My daughter has matriculated through Hartford schools. And the plan was to bring her here tonight to show you what it could look like, but I couldn't bring her here because my daughter is interning with NASA. She's a Hartford public, yeah. She graduated Hartford Public Schools. She graduated Hartford Public Schools. And I want to point out, we have talked about so much. I need you all to understand that it's more than just a number. $74 million as a deficit is wild. Insane for this kind of a school district. We're small, and I say we because I worked for Hartford Public School Districts for almost a decade before I was laid off. I was in the first round of layoffs. And while we're saying that, when I started working for Hartford Public Schools, I was a young mother. My daughter came here. I lived right across the street. I would walk her here, and then I would work for Hartford Public Schools while I was in school. I got my master's degree while working for Hartford Public Schools. This is a special place. My daughter, when she graduated with Hartford Promise. She graduated with so many scholarships between Hartford Promise and scholarships around Hartford and merit scholarships that by the time she graduates this year, she will graduate college debt-free. That is what Hartford Public Schools has pumped out. Now, granted, y'all can clap, but my bank account does show that, okay? But that's what Hartford Public Schools has pumped out. A little girl who was afraid to speak is now interning at NASA and will be graduating college debt-free. And she is the third person in our family to do so. So Hartford Public Schools is so special, so we have to look at it as more than just a number. $74 million, we can go over and over again, but you have watched kids stand up. You have watched students stand up. I'm telling you that by the time I left Hartford Public Schools, I was so good at what I did. Ran the school. I couldn't even tell you what position I had. I did everything. Attendance, lunchroom, recess duty, teaching. Whatever they needed, I did, because that's how much we believe in Hartford Public Schools. I don't know if you hear what they say about us outside of another districts. I said this to you at the meeting on Friday. When I took my girls to a cheerleading competition, they would look at us and say things like, oh, those girls are from Hartford. They won't know how to do what we do. They heard things like, can they even read? Oh, I guess this is the best that they can do. And just so you all know, we stomped everybody in that cheerleading competition. We're still the only one in Hartford that came home with the city competition, with the competition trophy. So I can run down all the things, but I will say this. When we talk about budgets and rainy day funds, I watched you at the State of the City, Mr. Mayor, say that we are building up the north end of Hartford. There are restaurants going up. There are things going up that can add to the nightlife. But I'm telling you, you cannot build a community and not build the kids. It would make no sense and no difference to put things in the north end of Hartford that would bring people from outside of Hartford to enjoy it, and then they go back to where they are, and their kids don't go here. Meanwhile, our kids suffer. Our kids are the backbone of this community. I have watched kids walk up and down Sands, walk up and down Main Street by themselves, get to school on time. I have watched Hartford Public School students be the most resilient I have ever seen. I've never seen resilience like I've seen in Hartford Public Schools. We would get home from games, and these kids would be there with their other siblings at 11 o'clock at night, ready to walk home as a family together. And then they would come back to school the next day, and they would pump out these great grades, and they would be on time. So we can go, I'm not going to tell you what to do with the budget. Actually, yes, I am. You should be funding schools. When I hear things like, oh, we're going to build up the North End, put restaurants, we're going to give millions of dollars to Hartford police to build a gun range. They know how to shoot. We already see that. We was with you on Friday until the end of time telling you that. They know what they're doing. But when you don't set aside money for education, it also shows the kids what you think of them. It's a quiet signal to the kids that you all would rather fund everything else but their education. And that is the saddest thing I've heard all night. Someone spoke up here, and the woman that you saw me hugging, trying not to get emotional, she taught my daughter when my daughter was younger. She worked with my daughter when my daughter was afraid to speak. And my daughter is now a college graduate, getting ready to graduate college. So I can be aggressive all day. You know I can be aggressive, Mr. Mayor. I've done it with you on Friday. But I am begging you all, and I do not like to beg. As a black woman who's highly educated, I don't like to beg. I am begging you all to take a look at your children. They're your children, whether they're yours or not. Take a look at what we have here and fund your schools. And support the superintendent, because the last few ones we've had, I've been to a few different superintendents. They were raggedy as hell, excuse my language. This one is not. Dr. Leslie, the way I wore that girl out. This one is not. Support our superintendent and support our kids.
Thank you very much. That concludes our public comment for the mayor's recommended budget. Our next budget hearing is again scheduled for April 28th at 6 p.m. at Weaver High School, and we welcome your participation if you wish to speak. Just for context, our departmental budget hearings will begin on Monday, April 6th, starting at 5. What time is it? No, it has 4 o'clock on my calendar, but I know that's wrong. Is it 6 o'clock? 5:30. We're going to start at 5:30 on Monday, April 6th, City Council Chambers. It also will be streaming live on HPA-TV.org. We're going to have where did it go? Our budget, the hearing, budget meeting. Tuesday, okay, thank you. Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday, 5:30, we're gonna have Human Resources and Hartford Public Library City Council Chambers at 5:30 again, which will be broadcasted live. So if you would like to attend, we will see you in person. Thank you very much, and have a good night. This public comment and for the public hearing is now adjourned.